Hi. So we're going to be dethroning Satan and beginning by discussing an individual whose work is rather substantial. However, I take extreme umbrage with it as well. And I've been loath to come forward and say as much about this because most individuals here with us are so remedial, so far behind schedule, and quite frankly, so useless that this man's work is rather critical for them to get into and get themselves out of the ditch that they seem to, well, be hell-bent on keeping themselves in. However, for those who actually want to graduate to a more advanced level, we're going to begin this dialogue about the subtle lie contained within his material. So the scope of what we're doing here is going to go vastly beyond this individual, but it works as a great place to start. And as far as communicating threats, which is what this individual does, it's pretty petty and useless. It's one of the petty and useless things he does. And saying things like nobody should tell him how to do a show or convey his material. He can go fuck himself and fucking get as fucking offended as he fucking wants. And that individual, of course, is Mark Passio. It is a stupid and unrefined thing to say, and it dovetails straight into some of the core problems Mark Passio has with being Mark Passio and life. And his philosophy is void of this particular awareness. And that is that Mark Passio is not in charge of Mark Passio. Mark Passio is not in charge of Mark Passio, even when Mark Passio does not directly injure or harm or initiate injury or harm upon any individual ostensibly in the external material walked about world. That's not how this works. And he's completely missing this point of process. That Mark Passio's life is not Mark Passio's to decide, even outside of not causing the mundane version of not initiating injury or harm. It's not where we take the world for granted that it works the way our eyes see. And see, the disingenuous bad faith part about Mark is that he knows this. This is why there is such a subtle lie. And he's obfuscating that as if the world taken for granted as it is, as long as you don't dent it by doing things you are not to do and ought not to do, and everybody knows that that's violation of individuals around you and items around you and property and so on, etc., then you could really do whatever you want. It's all a world of volunteerism after that point. Just don't disturb anybody's shit and you can do as you please. And nobody better please not dare tell Mark Passio what he is and is not ought to do if he ain't violating or disrupting or initiating harm or injury upon anybody else. Well, that attitude is initiating harm and injury upon everybody else, Mark Passio. So you're wrong, Mark Passio. You're wrong. And you're going to find out how fucking wrong you are as we dethrone the upper tier, the intellectual, cerebral aspect of Satan that you are. Because I know exactly who and what you are. And soon the world will too. And I have no problem coming in like a bullet, coming in hot, straight at your work, piggybacking it, usurping it, and throwing you to the fucking ground. While simultaneously, of course, as we know, Mark, two things or multiple things can all be correct at the same time. While I can damn well appreciate you and have gratitude for all that you've done and the substantial amount of work that you put out, I have no appreciation. I have negative appreciation for the lie that you've told and the slander that you've dumped upon humanity simply by existing in rebellion against the throne of heaven for as long as you have, and for the things that on this level you just haven't figured out because you're too dumb, son, and you're fucking ignorant, and you're an ignorant piece of shit who intends to cause satanic violence upon humanity. So as much as you've improved, you missed the mark, you fall short, and you're still a selfish, narcissistic, solipsistic piece of shit. Shove it! And take your own tonality, take it and put it up your anus until it comes out your mouth. And you can put all those aggressive and abrasive little tidbits back at your own fucking eyes, motherfucker, because I see you. I've been there looking at you. Yeah, you can figure out what that one means. I took your advice. I showed up, I stood there, and you know what happened? Ain't shit happened because you're talk, bro. You're just a big mouthpiece for Satan, and we're dethroning you. So let's get into it. Mark Passio has an authority problem. And I mean that in the most childish way that our psychology would talk about it. Dude, you just have a fucking authority problem. You're just wrong. You're wrong in your macro frame. In here, you're the best. In here, you're the best. And listen, two and more can be all correct simultaneously. In here, you're the best. You're the man, dude. And everybody should listen to you. No sarcasm implied, no satire. Everybody in here, listen to this guy, because you don't know what he's talking about. And when he says he knows so much more, he does in here. But out here, dude, you're just such a fucking asshole. You're a creep, and you're just an asshole. You're a selfish motherfucker. In here, you're correct. You're more correct than anybody because you're right. You're always right, dude. You're a fucking righteous motherfucker and piece of shit. You're so fucking right. That's why you're wrong, because you're a righteous piece of fucking shit who believes you exist like here. And as long as you don't touch out here in a doo-doo way, you're all good. That ain't shit, bro. You're fucking wrong, and you have an authority problem that you somehow got in your childhood, or you got, if you didn't, like you said, have a bad childhood and nobody touched you funny and your parents were average, like you say, as if we believe that you weren't amnesia in MK Ultra outside the little green screen of your fucking house, you fucking douchebag who doesn't even talk about shit that really matters. You're just talking down. That's another big problem I have about you, piece of shit. You've been talking down to a low fruit audience, as if most of the people you're talking to don't get the basic framers. We do. We always have. Yes, you work harder than nearly everybody. You don't work harder than me. You cannot by design. Nobody by design can ever work harder than me. So you said it in the superlative and you say hyperbolic. I'm a presenter. You know what? Fuck you. I exist. That means that even that statement is a lie, piece of shit. And that's the lie that ensconces your rebellion against the fucking throne. That's called in Hebrew, Mark. You like Hebrew? Morid b'malchus. Malchus, the actual kingship of heaven. Boy. Mark Passio has an authority problem. Mark Passio has a problem with authority, and therefore he has a problem defining anarchy. As well as Mark has taken the conversation out of all this chaff, draw straws to draw straws over here. Good job. But you know what? I know what your IQ is. You told us. Okay? You're north of 145. Good on you. You know my IQ is, bro? 190. Obviously, IQ isn't everything, but it's not nothing. It informs something, okay? So you guys who clock in the Mensa Club, you're many standard deviations stupid. Therefore, you're putting a burden and a duty upon me to get you proactive. Well, your lack of proactivity of getting yourself up here. Yeah, there's also the weight of the heart, okay? So I'm not being stupid here. You're stupid. Let's get that clear. I've done this before. You know, you didn't want to talk. You got your little fucking lackey Sethicus Bosi. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna attempt to talk all abstract. I'm not gonna fucking polish this shit. I'm gonna call names. I'm gonna explain it exactly how it is. You got fucking Sethicus Boza out here being Sethicus fucking clown ass shoes bozo. Don't know shit about nothing, casting spells at the world. Yeah, motherfucker. Okay. I know he talked to you about me. I know you know exactly who I am, and I know you're a selfish dick. Okay. I would know. Trust me, I would know. Like, I would know. You got Catherine Buckaloo, Truth Connections. They've talked to you about me. Reached out to Leah. You know who I am, dickhead. And I know why you avoid the fucking conversation, because I'm the only motherfucker who can wrangle your fucking ass to the ground. Prove out, point out, detail, and list out why you suck. And I can accept that on this level of the world, you've done as much here, and you got yourself an amnesia. Like, you really believe you sorted it all out. But you're still acting for the order. You're acting for Satan because you are limiting yourself by your own psychological drivers, which are produced by solipsism and narcissism in your intellectual cerebral tier. So you got rid of this tier, T-I-E-R. You got rid of this tier of narcissism and solipsism. You're ensconced in a pig pen, in a Charles Schultz pig pen, like cloud of dust. It doesn't let you see past it because you're in Satan. You're in satanity, and that's your insanity. You got this whole master-slave block over here. It's a false dichotomy. You're exuding in duality because you left out authority. So you've done well to explain dimensions for the demented in dementia about this world's conceptualization of anarchy and anarcho-syndicalists and all these fucktarded fuckeries, and your work from where they are up to where you are, A+ for fume control, butchie. But we're not in Cincinnati, John. So the point being, who cares? Why are you talking to morons? Idiot. The phrase, be a tail to a lion, not a head to foxes. You're out there being a head to foxes, motherfucker, and you're stupid. And up here, we're not buying it. Yes, you've corrected the really stupid version of anarchy. Clearly, it's not being a punk and spray painting. You know, good on you. Good job. Motherfucking good job, Mark Rokar, Mr. Big Kitty fucking Pussycat. Good job. Dude, grow up. You're not even close to what it should be. Anarch. No archons. Capiche? Mordecai, Marduk, no archons, no false authority. Government is not slavery. Boys and girls, let's say that 10 times at least. Government is not slavery. 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 That's 11. You're getting all up in a bunched panties bunch about a bunch of Hilux, Klippa, movie refractors Yeah, that's not what's keeping people in slavery. You know, and I know, and you've said it's their mind. Governing the mind, governmental by a council, is an authoritative process. You are not at your leisure to voluntaristically do whatever the fuck you want as if you were made an independent agent, bitch. You are ours to tell you what to do and how to do it, when to do it, and how much. As am I, and him, and everybody. Nobody is an independent agent as long as they don't initiate terrestrial harm and injury upon people and property. You motherfucking heaven denying piece of shit. And that's immediately in show one, the sneaky little lie, as if it's a sales putting you at ease. I'm talking about the truth. All the truth is what has happened and what is. We're not going to deal with, here it is, boys and girls, the mind of God. You're not. Now, barring the term God being misapplied, we mean consciousness, the great consciousness. We're not going to deal with the mind of the mind, the great. You're not. So, what's your point of origin? You? You as a representative of the independent individual? I mean, you haven't done a bad job explaining that. I will give you that all day next year and for the duration. But why aren't we starting with the mind of the divine consciousness? Oh, I know why. Because it cancels your little douchebag rebellion and it distinguishes between authority and mastery. You like to keep it in here and hide the ball, bitch. Because you don't want to be under the authority of heaven in your lip service to the creator, whatever the fuck that is, and your lip service to the universe. Yeah, you've got a lot of its natural law, philosophy, mechanics, functionality, and rubrics down. And you should keep teaching them. You're good at it. However, why are you using that as your point of origin? It's a sneaky little thing you did immediately in show one. We need to talk about the mind of God. We actually need to talk about God, but that's a different thing. But we need to talk about the mind of mind. We need to talk about consciousness, point of origin. And then we definitely need to talk about the thing you don't like to talk about, even though it's the most functional, most highlighted, most common metaphor in the occult, though you oddly avoid it entirely. The body, the organism, because that means you're not independent. You're not at your leisure to just decide whatever you want to do after you have not and continue not to engage and initiate harm and injury upon people. What the fuck is wrong with you? Let's send you and everybody back to nursery school, you little fucking toddler. Because does that work if you were in a villi in the lung, some cell in the liver? Does it work if you're a nephron in the kidney? As long as you're not beating up the other nephrons? You already processed all your urine. What now you take a vacation to France? Now you're gonna go hang out in the pancreas? The fuck kind of moron are you? Stupid moron. That's what you are. hiding the ball, deceiving humanity. Even people don't listen to you. Your quanta is out there. Okay, but I'm coming around that. That's getting counteracted. Okay, because that's stupid. It's outrageous. Actually, what it is called blasphemy. Yes, Mark, you worship Satan still. You don't worship mini-me Satan. You made yourself the big, huge me Satan because you didn't start with divine consciousness. You didn't start with our point of origin. And you did it so cleverly, like, oh, that's lofty. I'm just talking about how we got to be right to each other here. Clever, but not really. It's actually really stupid. It makes you really dumb, son. And all the places you pontificate about, flatulate out your mouth about, they don't actually exist. So everywhere you believe you're going on to, that's your imagination. We're bound to this. We're either going to repair it or you are disintegrating. You're not going on to some wonderful place because you've been so meticulous with your natural law activity, because we're an organism. That means if everybody goes down, you go down too. So you're stupid. Because you can look down at everybody down below you and be right, but you never look up at me and say, damn, I'm still wrong. That's what I do. But you know what happened? How long I've been going, maybe I'm wrong? Because I'm the only one who looks up. You know what happens? Ain't nobody up there. But I'm still looking. Let's talk about it. With me, I'm Z, but you all fucking know that. And every one of you motherfuckers who plays like you don't can go shove a pencil up your ass 11 times. If that doesn't work, put it in your ear. And if we're still stuck, push the erasers really hard into your eyes. When you're done, shove them up your nostrils and then eat the graphite. With me is Jason Spillers.
What's going on? Most people know who I am too, so
we all know who we are, and that makes this a really ugly game. But we're gonna play because all you want to do is have a Monopoly board and act like it ain't shit. So, no, it's like I got Park Place. It's like I own the board. You ever stop and like who owns the board? Anyway, speak to me, Jason. Let's make this a dialogue.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I like your opening. I mean, I agree with you about Mark Passio. You're the one who introduced me to Mark Passio, actually. That was 3 years ago. In 2020, you introduced me to Mark Passio, even though I was pretty familiar with a lot of his vernacular, his phrasings, as he has emitted himself into the culture of individuals who think that they're speaking about important things, and sometimes they are.
Sometimes they are.
Sometimes
they are.
And I'm not gonna. And I admire Mark. Mark's very intelligent, and a lot of the things that he says, I feel like it's like the corrections that you just made, like the dialogue that you just made as an introduction to our video here. It's like that really sums up so much of these tiny errors which have just gone awry in Mark Passio's work. It's like it's incorrectly applied brilliance. That's like, it's like, and like you were saying, within his space, yes, okay, Mark, you're the man, okay, good job. But it's like, you're not doing what it is that you say that you are. You are coming up short, even on like the direct equation of what is masculinity. like the application of the masculinity algorithm to your life and work. It's like you missed that, you know? So it's like the whole thing about Mark is like, I feel like it's like if you're an architect and you make an angle and it's like, it's just like this tiny degree off at the beginning, which could be easily corrected. And then you have 12 years of Mark Passio making this incorrect angle, like as it is emitted from the center point. And that goes back to what you were just saying. What is the starting point? What is the origin point of Mark Passio? What is the origin point of his work and philosophy? And so we have this degree, this angle of degree, which is just the tiniest bit off and poorly applied, that needs to be corrected from the beginning. And then we'll have something that's like really special, because Mark does hold, I mean, you've said it, I've said it. Mark has a lot of knowledge about a lot of subject matter that is important for everyone to be exposed to. So, yeah, but he's also a giant fucking asshole who is doing the same. And here's another one: the practical application of masculinity, the practical application of ignoring another individual, and that being violence itself. Do as thou wilt is not the law, Mark. And so you're still harming. You are still harming right now. You know who we are. You know who I am. You know who Jason Spillers is. You know who Z is. Why are you not engaged right now? Because you're ignoring us, bro, because you're wrong and you're too much of a whiny little bitch to take it.
You are a whiny little bitch. You are still extremely emotionally unstable.
And your emotional response is incorrect, Mark. Let me quote you as anger is the correct emotional response to
Yeah, wait. We're not talking about that response. That response, we're with you all day. We're talking
that's
about when you whine. You're
I was about to
invoking
I
your
was
whiny side.
That's where I was going with that. Like your anger, yes, we agree with you that many times that you're,
Indignant wrath.
yeah, go for it. Yeah, thumbs up, bro. I'm with you.
If you're not outraged, you're not paying attention. But that's not what we're talking about.
Totally. So you are having an incorrect emotional response to stimuli. Okay, so you get pissed off about and this goes back to what Z said at the beginning too. You're angry, you're pissed off. The correct emotional response to all of the ignorant fucktard retarded motherfuckers out there. Okay, I agree with you. I think that anger is the correct emotional response to that. Now, what's your emotional response to us, Mark? Are you having the correct? Are you demonstrating the correct emotional response to us? Because if you're angry at us, well, we demand correction. Stand before us, Mark Passio. But that invitation has been fully given. Don't act like you
Oh,
don't know
but she'll say, oh, but you don't have a body of work. Hey, bitch, I'm not in this for the clout. You know that there is a network of consciousness. Why are you acting like
that's a
you're
poor
not
excuse
there?
anyway. Sorry. I mean, that's a poor excuse. I mean, yes, you're correct, Ian, but on the ground level, that's a poor excuse. It's like, here I am correcting all of your work. And what are you saying? Well, you don't have any work of your own. You're just correcting mine. And that makes me feel like I'm a
Yeah, you
little.
know what? In the field, that's what I do all day, Mark. I correct you. Stop acting like the field isn't real, or stop doing your work. Just because I don't show out and you can't Google me, and the few times I've appeared on screen have been scant, that doesn't mean, oh, come now. And if you want to vibrate back at that in speech to your low fruit audience, like a bro, like, I mean, this is just paranoid psychosis. These guys are, dude, stop doing your work because you're acting like the space of the mind and consciousness is lofty and They're just what?
That's worldview violence, Mark. That's worldview violence right there.
Listen, we're not denying the efficacy and possibly even requirement to use digital technology to reach people. But that's only to overcompensate or to compensate for their lack of proactive awareness of the field.
And that's your responsibility as an individual, Mark, just like everyone else.
So don't act like because my name doesn't show out as big as yours, you're on top of me and I'm beneath you and not clouded enough for you to get your fucking ass in front of me.
That's a really
Rebellious offspring. Anyhow, please continue.
Well, I thought that needed to be a little moment for impact there. That one. So yeah, I mean, so where are you, Mark? Why are you ignoring us? Why are you ignoring logical correction to the data that you present as
Side out. I just a side out. You know, in Manchester, Connecticut, in October of 2014, I was with you there, Mark. I was with you there at the beginning of the event. I was with you during the event. I commented in the event. Just if you want to stand in your satanic amnesia and play, let's be correct here. I know Richard Grove. I'm a close friend of a close friend of Richard Grove. I was there. I've spoken to him about tragedy and hope before he did autonomy. I asked you about a patch so I could tell you about a patch because I knew you didn't know shit about what you were actually saying and you make it up as you go along. Your Hebrew is slack as fuck. But moving on. I went out to lunch with you and you had your back to me. I know why. I know what you said. You probably don't know what you said because things dribble out of people's mouth in satanic amnesia. I know what was on the back of Barb's sweatshirt. I know why it was on the back of Barb's sweatshirt. I know why the guy from Kentucky was in front of my face to autistically distract. I understand. Stop playing like the patterns of the chessboard aren't actually there. And you're going to go talk mental, intellectual, cerebral philosophy to a congregation of unripe fruit and pretend that what's really happening isn't what's really happening. We're well beyond enough is enough, dude. And you know that at the bar following the event, we had over an hour worth of conversation while Barb shoved her face in her plate. Get as offended as you want. There's one more place that you were wrong. Ooh, burn. Let it burn. Let it burn big because you were wrong about allowing her and her addiction. Let it burn. Tell me I don't know anything about your private life. Come shoot me. Shoot me or shut up, motherfucker. Because you were wrong. You could use force over that violence. It's not volunteering when it's her body because her body's not her body. Dipshit! There couldn't be a more wrong application of natural law that you so kindly brought to the world and then screwed up all of its upper parameters. Clown. You know who I am. I tenderly called into your show at least 3 times in 2014 and pointed out the logic flaw even in the grammar about not following order. All beings are obligated to follow order. What do you want to do, asshat? follow disorder. Do you not hear the conjugation in your grammar? That is just stupid trash. Don't follow orders. Don't be an order follower. What are you, some fucking worm ass maggot that crawled out of the ground and got your IQ dumped into you with a bunch of oh, wait, probably. Isn't that what Robert Fanning said about your ass? You just sort of crawled up out of some fucking sewer and got a bunch of updated programs put in you. Like you didn't even exist before you did in our world. Idiots. You know what you should do? You should follow orders, because we have orders and you're not allowed to violate them. You are able, you have the ability to do things you want and say, I can do them because I'm not initiating injury or harm upon people or property. Yeah, and then you defy the King of Heaven, bitch. You defy your own being self, being part of the whole being that produced your being's part in the play. It's like you're saying you don't need to honor the original choreography. You can do your own dance as long as on a terrestrial level it doesn't cause injury and harm. Because what are you? What is anybody to have to know the mind of God? I just mean, like, don't steal packages off people's porch from Amazon. Don't go down and, scratch somebody's car. Don't be negligent and reckless and act inconsiderate. And then I could just frolic or watch WWE or some fucking shit-tarded whatever it is for whomever and you and them and what. Or there's actually choreography. At each instant of the conscripted choreography, you have the option to do it or not to do it, but not doing it is called violence. You are deviating and violating, thus being violent, from your choreographed action. The fuck is wrong with you? There is a plan for each instant of reality. It's not predetermined that it is going to do. It is predetermined that it is choreographed, but in each instant you have the ability to or not to do it. It is not ad lib at leisure, as long as you're just not in tune, that you're dull. There's a big aspect of you that's like been hit in the face with a satanic rock. Like a mountain fell on your fucking face. You're just not in tune with the precision of action. Duh. You got a kind of Down syndrome element. I don't think that like dust cloud breaks up until about after 167. You know what I'm saying? Because it's stupid. It's outrageous. It's violent. It's blasphemy. Heaven planned each moment. It's choreographed. It's visible if you look. It is. You choose not to, because to would be to deny yourself the remaining pleasures that you've left yourself and your little OCD tug of war conflict with yourself inside your skull. Dipshit. It's not okay. Now, there's a giant learning curve of getting in sync with that. That's fine. It doesn't mean it's not there. It doesn't mean that it's not exactly choreographed what you are to do. It also doesn't take away the fact that you have total ability not to do it or to do it. And it doesn't make not doing it violence. It is violence. You shouldn't be teaching this shit. It's garbage. Acting like the world is your oyster as long as you do not initiate terrestrial injury or harm on people or property.
Terrestrial being the key word there, which is just that's worldview violence within itself.
Worldview violence.
Again.
Thank you, Jason. That's worldview violence. Yeah. That's reducing the view of world. You like to keep it in there, huh? Hide the ball. Oh yeah, that's just one additional thing you're stupid about. You still telling everybody there's a ball.
Yeah, come on. Like, I've actually developed the most precise way of saying this. And Mark's familiar. It's not like Mark isn't watching us. It's not like Mark isn't going to see this video. It's not like Mark hasn't read every single word on my Facebook. It's not like Mark is unaware of the video post that I made a couple weeks ago on Facebook saying that we were going to do this. And I made 2 immediate corrections. It was a very brief video because I wanted to save it for this. I wanted to let Z take the lead on this one, as he is much more familiar with your work and you as an individual than I am. But I made 2 corrections that we've already spoken about. One is government is not the government is not I'm sorry, what does he say? Government is violence. What is his line, Z, at the beginning? I'm missing it here. Government is slavery. I'm sorry. It just wasn't clicking for me there for a second. Government is not slavery, number 1. And 2, these were the 2 corrections that I made. Government is not slavery. And number 2, the earth is not as presented. When I click play on What on Earth is Happening, the first thing that comes out is your music to a spherical shaped earth. And the first line that you say is government is not slavery. That's all wrong.
All wrong. It's not flat either. Flat's a stupid word. First of all, clearly it's not flat. That's ridiculous. But it's also really not anything.
It's a hologram.
The holographic plane that we exist in.
Sure.
So everybody's wrong.
I've been trying to correct this for years, way before I met Z. Like, I was already like, I mean, come on now.
We're in the realm.
Yeah.
Our minds are projecting an experience before us.
So, yeah, those 2.
Flat, honeycomb, asshole shaped. I mean, come on.
Whatever.
Come on. Please.
So, when you begin your program with blatant incorrectness, and then you just continue on from there. It's like, well, let's begin at the beginning. Okay. First of all, when I press play on What on Earth is Happening, your earth is wrong. Your opening statement is wrong. So let's begin there. That's the video.
What is that? What is that? Why that? Why is sphere? It's because of the human head. And that's where the ego is. It's making itself the planet, the skull.
Okay.
That's where the sphere is. It's like what's in my skull. That's my brain. That's my mind. It's like, well, that's not your mind. But your mind's non-local. That's it. I wish it were fully local. We should probably work on that. But that's why the conceptualization of so-called planets, these planar bodies, why it comes in as a sphere, because you're picturing your human head.
So, Mark, we know that you know about us. We know that you can see us. I know that you see me. I see you see me, Mark. So, at what point in time are you going to end your violence?
Density sorts itself out. And there's stuff above you. Maybe you should look up.
Anytime, Mark.
Let's get back to it. Maybe we should begin at the beginning. Refresher, because everybody was there. I like when people say, I don't really remember my birth because I wasn't there. Um, we know what you mean, but yeah, you were. That's kind of how that works. And so all of us were there when this happened. So we call it our original state of being, a singularity, a total singularity. The only thing that can be said about our original singularity is that it exists. I'll say that again. The only thing we can say about our original state of being is that it exists. Exist is that it exists. Singular. That it exists. That it exists. Semicolon, that is to say, and not anything else, which is the most powerful phrase we have because that begins our talking about the thing that we can only singularly say that it exists. When we can only say that because we know we exist. And every reasonable individual, bar none, who is coming in good faith, does not have the capacity to use cognitive reason, meaning every individual, bar none, has the capacity to use cognitive reason, acting in good faith, to come to the conclusion that everything emanated from a singular point, whether stripped of dynamic, cosmic capabilities or not, whether it's just, to say the least, up until 30 years ago, probably still but coming much closer to now and before the standard model in science, the Big Bang, that there's a dot, compressed dot, that everything burst forth from. Or Aristotle talking about the prime mover, the unmoved mover, whether it's philosophy, science, wisdom systems, teachings, basic math, and cognitive reason. Everything can be gotten back to a singular point that it emanated out from. That being said, if you have anything to say that disagrees with that, you are a moron and I am no longer talking to you. Please go drown yourself in a river. I mean it. You're the problem. If you don't have enough cognitive reason to concur that everything goes back to a singular point, we can talk about the singular point. You could tell me that the singular point is just an inert point and that's some kind of Darwinian style, just simply inorganic like, yeah, okay, we could talk about that as long as we acknowledge that everything came from a singular point. You can strip it bare of all massive dynamic faculties, fine, we could debate that. But if you can't use your cognitive reason to acknowledge that everything we see now came from forward from something and can be rewound to the point when it was singularly just that singular dot, you are a moron. You are not part of this conversation. Any refutations of that are just tomfoolery, and there ain't any energy to do that. Pile of trash that would even verbalize that doesn't even belong in a river because it's making it dirty. So don't know what to do with you. Just stop. Get some help. Just get some help. So those refutations are straight out. Everybody from any serious, reasonable cognitive discipline can trace everything back to a singular point of origin. Period. That's just how stuff works. Nesting dolls, Russian dolls, everything's coming forward from somewhere. Telescoping out. Period. The end. Now we can talk about it, but that's the thing. There is a singular point of origin. Grammar is our buddy because it exists, singular, which is to say that not anything else exists. Dead exists. When it exists, nothing else exists. When it exists, there is not anything else exists. Okay? It's very powerful. Semicolon, there is not anything else. So in order for that which exists to become aware, to gain any awareness for ourself, if you will, to gain awareness of ourself, it needs to no longer exist in the way it exists. And once that occurs, it can never exist again. If you can't work that out, you're really stupid. I don't know how to help you. I can only say this. If you take a garment, for sake of putting it down here, once again, and it comes off the factory line, only touched by machines. So for sake of our example, it's human engagement with the garment. These are all down here terms. Hyperbole and metaphor, allegory and illusion. Don't trip on it. It's not about robots and humans. Spare me. And the shirt has never been touched by a human. It's straight off the factory line. If you put a wrinkle in it, the shirt has been wrinkled. It has the imprint of having been wrinkled. In Mark's terms, that's the truth. Can you iron the wrinkle? Obviously. You can iron the wrinkle professionally. You will not see any trace that it was there. That does not erase the imprint that that shirt has been wrinkled. Do you have the shirt post wrinkle that came off the factory line, Jason?
Yes. Well, I mean, once you buy it at the store.
What you actually answered that correctly. Let me formulate my question better. Thank you. Is the shirt that you have, yes, in the same state that you got it?
Of course not.
Can it ever be again?
No.
Because it has been wrinkled. That is the truth.
And that
there
has
is much truth to the aspect that Mark's sharing when he says the truth. But that truth, if you will, is happening within what he calls the mind of God. So again, spare me the limit. That has happened once it has happened. Nothing is predetermined, but once it has happened, it has happened. And in that way, Mark is correct, and we will continue to acknowledge where he is correct, because he's usually correct, because Mark is right. So right is wrong. But I'll give credit for being right. Let's just not be wrong. Somebody nearby is helping too. Anyhow. So there is not anything else when our original state exists. So in order to move from that state, and that state is a state being unwrinkled, meaning it has no relationship. No relationship is possible if there's only a singularity. If you go into your geometry class, you start by putting a dot on a page. Yeah, we have to have a thing to talk about. Spare me the piece of paper, spare me the desk in the classroom. It's not the exercise. You put a dot on the paper. You have to put a second dot on the paper before you have the ability to speak out a relationship. Dot there, dot there. Dot B, dot A. B because A because B, there because here, here because there, because if reverse, reverse would be correct. Point of relation, point of orientation. So if we start from a singular point, There's no relationship possible. So if our singular state of being, our original state of being, is singular, it exists, which is semicolon to say not anything else exists, did as is possible to exist when it exists. That is to say, you cannot technically say that our original state of being lacked anything, because anything that exists came from the fact that it exists. However, grammar helps us. Grammar is our buddy that helps us to acknowledge there is a lacking. If it exists, semicolon, is to say there is not anything else exists when it exists. Lacking is anything else. It exists precludes anything else exists. So it's lacking anything else. Anything else is here transitive for relationship, transitive for awareness. There cannot be awareness or relationship within self as the single point, origin point. Our original state of being is relationshipless. Creation, there being the creation of desire or want. We skipped need because it exists, doesn't have a need, doesn't have a have. To have a have, you have to have a relationship to relate to this versus that. And there isn't. There's a big question there, the most advanced question. If there was no awareness, how do we have the awareness to have the awareness that there was no awareness? Anyhow, I have the answer. I don't know anybody else alive who has ever been alive who has the answer. Skipping that, not a consummate answer anyhow. Anybody who attempts to answer that answer without me answering, having heard me answer it, will leave something out. And I will question them on that, and they will realize that they missed out an aspect. That being said, it doesn't need to be fully articulated immediately now, because we know by cognitive reason that we started at a singular point. We got through that. And we know that I have an individual state of mind and Jason has an individual. So we know that this is how it is now, and we can extrapolate through cognitive reason that that is how that is. So it did happen. We did start there and we did get here. So the fact is, by necessity of back engineering, there must be an answer to this question, but we'll thumbtack it because we can move forward without this extremely advanced articulation. Clearly, we found ourselves. How did we find ourselves? We found ourselves alone. We found ourselves alone. We found out we didn't like that. Here, I say we in a borrowed way. I started saying our original state of being in we because most people are too stupid to keep their mind concentrated and focused long enough to grasp, I mean you. Don't put yourself over there and put some Western linear God over there. That's retarded and ridiculous and outrageous. So I started using a borrowed pronoun our and we to keep reminding every individual you were part of this thing, not created over there by this thing. You're part of the thing because there was not anything else. It exists. You in there, everything in there. But the everything in there can only be said to be lacking anything else. So creation is the instant at which our original state of being discovers ourself, discovers being, discovers being is alone, discovers the sensation, which we cannot get into today, that it does not like being alone, and that it would like to enter into relationship with self, to understand self, to be aware of self. Somehow we undulated ourselves around enough to get some sense that we were there and realize we couldn't really get a sense of ourselves without there being point of relation. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and this guy. The elephant in the room. Anyhow, I do not have a pink belly like a dolphin. I am not a pink elephant in the room. But anyway, I'm more like a zebra. So moving on. Even if the material is not that black and white. Okay, that's enough. Getting back to the origin point. It exists. It is our original state of being. We found out that we exist. We exist alone. We didn't like it. What are we going to do? Am is am. Am is alone. Am doesn't want to be alone. That's creation. What people generally conceptualize as creation is production or manufacture. Back to the shirt. What we needed to do is place a wrinkle. And first, point B. So assuming the original state of being as the point A, because it's the only point, so it's not really point A, and it's never going to be point A. It's just a way to get the mind to there. It's not really point A. It's the only point. You only have point A when you have point B, so it's not point A yet. So technically, what it produces is point A, and then it leaves the left behind as point B, because until it points at grammar in the Vedic world, at is considered a sacred word. At and that. What's the baby do? Well, this is the baby points. One of the first really cognitive thing the baby does. The beginning phase of coming out of its hypnagogia. Singles it out. At. That's all. We had a wrinkle. Ourself to that first wrinkle. After that, you can never have the original state of the shirt again. That's ridiculous. The wrinkle needs to mix. Say that again.
Sorry, which is a common misconception.
Extremely, disturbingly common.
Yeah.
Frighteningly stupid. The image of God.
Sure. I was thinking even more from like a narrative, like a singular narrative, like a character narrative perspective, even if the absence of the God philosophy. It's just like, I may return to this place of pure consciousness within my mind through hard work and dedication, through meditation and things like that. Like that's an extremely common misconception about our original state of being that is
Buddhist, if you will.
Buddhist, yeah, sure. Or even like
we came out from the original point. We turned into suffering. We need to go back to the light. What was the point?
Sure.
Don't ask me why. Don't ask why.
Totally.
Don't ask why. 16 candles down the.
It's, I mean, it's even.
You have to be on Molly to believe that. That's all I'm saying.
Sure.
I mean, you're getting cowed over by every stupid idea, this Buddhist misconceptualization. Oh, we just came out from the light, oopsied into suffering, and we better on ouchie our way back.
Well, that's like even in the modern yoga meditative cultures, which are loosely based on Buddhism.
Self-help, new age bullshit.
Totally.
Good on you, Mark, for that stuff, but the point is, it's allegation, it's assertion, is simply that I am not me. I am just a oopsie, and I will un-ouchie my way out of here. Because, wait, I can't remember. Oh yeah, I'm not supposed to remember. Let me keep going till I don't, what?
Yeah, don't think about it. That's the worst thing that you can do.
Or don't become aware of it, said better.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm diligently attempting to be unaware.
That's called ignoring, isn't it?
I'm being unaware. Don't make me aware.
I'm ignoring this.
I'm eliminating myself. Look how much I'm eliminating me.
Look how hard I'm working to eliminate me.
I am eliminated. I have eliminated me. I am eliminated. I am eliminated. Nope, you're still there, just holding the conscious space of elimination. Dumbass.
Dumbass.
So that is a violation of what's called commonly in the occult the divine paradox. That the whole will continue to exist as the whole while the parts exist as the parts, making the sum of the parts greater than the parts as the whole. And there's no need to return to the light. This was not an oopsie, this was an on purpose. We purposefully stepped out from our singular state. Maybe we shouldn't have. Just putting that out there. We could have stayed in the non-need, and it is not entirely wrong to say that it was a violation of the state we were in to produce desire and want and move ourselves straight past need into craving relationship. That impulsive undulation to discover amness. If we hadn't done that, we hadn't done that. We wouldn't be talking about having done that. We wouldn't be talking about anything. We were just, but we did because we're here. And so the path forward to euphoria is the path of grasping the conditions of our relationships. Because we did do this. So there's screwing this up and shattering our sense of being forever. And there is reaching the euphoric state of aware connectivity and appreciation and beauty and having an everlasting ecstasy. But there is not, oh, we should go back to the way we, that wrinkle in the shirt. Impossible. Buddhists, New Agers, self-help, trendy individuals who are looking for a psychological escape route to being completely accountable and responsible and actualizing the divine masculine. And for many aspects of this, even if you don't embody them fully, Mark, good on you for calling that out. The unholy feminine, the divine masculine, the sacred gift of anger, new age bullshit, super duper A+ for fume control, but it still stinks. So we're working on that part of fumigation. The part that is still a foul odor before heaven. So back to that. We come forward and we realize we don't have a relationship. We want relationship. Where are we going to get relationship? If only it exists, it can only subdivide. It can only part itself out. In parting itself out, there is no precedent for parts. There's only it, ourself, self, it, in unawareness. So in this pre-world of still singularity that has somehow gained enough acceleration to contemplate going into relationship, this advanced, super advanced, how did it do that? If to do that, the reason it needed to do that was it not that, to that. Okay, it's the advanced thing. We don't have to talk about it because we can reason back to that it was this, and we can see that it is this. So we know what happened. We're leaving that on the bench for now. Point being, while doing that, came up concern, as there's no precedent for parts. If I part myself out, my body, pick a number, into
169,000
parts, 1,000 parts, and give each part is going to have agency, action, ability. And there's no precedent for that. That means, put in simplest, each part gets the power to choose to love. And in this context, which is the ultimately correct context, love means acknowledge, appreciate, and basically understand the function and existence of each part besides itself, its part in the choreographed play. See, this is why when somebody like me come along and put it this simply, it's not hard for a third grader to grasp what's being said. There's, you get a piece of cardboard or however that laminate works, so you make into a puzzle. It's not cut, and then you cut it, and then there's all these pieces. That's it. That's all it is. And each piece has the duty to acknowledge, if it's a 111 piece puzzle, piece one has the duty to acknowledge the 110 pieces. They're part of the puzzle by awareness. They're to acknowledge they exist, to appreciate their beauty and position in the puzzle and the play. That's it. That's our whole duty here. Everything else is complicating it. Everything else is distraction. Inside of the world we exist in now, we got people like hate and love. Marx says this too. I mean, it's just a basic philosophical, psychological, ideological, occult fact. Love and hate are on a spectrum. They're on a continuum. They're the same thing. And the actual dynamic there is directed attention. I'm not sure if Marx says that, probably says some version of that. Let me say it better than you. That's what I'm here to do. That's directed attention. So the opposite of directed attention, now ask any woman, is indifference, ambivalence, no attention, distraction. So the opposite of love is distraction. Distraction is sponsored by the L word, laziness. Where in this format of creation, laziness is lack of willingness to accept the change that has already been certified. The fuck does that mean? What I'm saying is, if we're our originals, and this is where all Marx's laws come from, not adhering to this, not establishing this. If our original state of being was the base cardboard laminate that gets cut into puzzle pieces, the body that gets distinctified into all these organ and organelles and cellular component, et cetera, pieces, parts, and parts, and pieces, parts. Then all the pieces, parts were the original thing on pieces parted. Therefore, making the decision to move into this relationship experiment where the job of every piece that is about to come to be a part is to acknowledge the existence of and appreciate the beauty and function of, in our example, 110 more pieces, and that's each piece's duty singularly. Then doing anything but that is violence. You are using your faculty and ability to do anything else. Different use of the phrase anything else. Anything you can might be better. You're using your faculty to do anything you can, anything you can. You have the ability. However, if we were in a single being that gave ourselves the instruction, the absolute instruction that our duty here was singularly to acknowledge the existence of and become aware and appreciative of the beauty and function of each piece, and that was it. But you could also like build a Disneyland. You could build. I mean, listen, spare the pedophilia and all the Hitler reference, everything that goes into what we know of Disneyland here. But let's say Disneyland was really the candy paradise that it presents itself as. You could build Disneyland. It'd be fun. You could terrestrially not injure or harm or initiate injury or harm upon any people or property. In theory, that's definitely not our Disney World. That's not Walt Disney. But I'm saying you could design a place that was authentically just Disneyland as we know it, or it's presented to be. Yeah, but fun is satanic. Fun is self-pleasure, and it's not. After I got all my schoolwork done, I can go do as I please. No, Mark. That volunteerism, it's just trash. No way. Just no way. There's not a moment for that because it's all been choreographed and you're still choosing that extracurricular distraction. And if we were all the singular being who decided to do exactly and precisely what it is we are precisely and exactly to do, and there's any deviation from that, and that's violence, you know, we do to violence, we use any amount of force necessary to counteract it. That means it's your job to get their asses in line. Not to stand by and say, well, I presented natural law philosophy, I presented it, I did my job, and these motherfuckers were just too stupid to get it. We're going to come back around to how this all functions in a second, but to say it again, the three stages of why people can't hear this message this way correctly and properly with the upper tier effect of the natural law philosophy dynamics of violence and force versus violence, and using force to counteract violence is this. And Mark, in the more recent days, you've nearly got your ass there because you're so fucking frustrated. You're almost saying it out loud. Nearly, but not nearly enough. So let me push you over the edge, buddy. Boy. 3 reasons this message is rejected in this capacity is 1, the system that we are describing, in order for it to have the ability to succeed, must have the authentic ability to not succeed, to fail forever, eternally, everlasting failure. No being is outside of it. There's no supreme being. There is a higher power. Let's just tack that in there now, but it's the sum of our power. There's no supreme being who's going to just like, well, you all did a fucky thing. Let's just throw it. Okay, we'll make it get. No. In order for this whole thing to succeed, it must have the actual ability to fail. Point 1. Many here in Mark's work understand that. The laws and the algorithms of the universe. But moving to point 2, it's all you to do. Your lot, your allotted share, your absolute actions required. And your pattern does keep recycling through your life until you have your life's opportunity to get your ducks in a row, to get your lines in alignment. You do, as long as you're alive. But you must do it. It is yours to do your part, and your part you must do. You, singularly, each of you, each of ourselves. That one's not too far outside the Passio Pale people too, but for everybody watching. So it's consummately expressed. But number 3, this is where we hit on you guys. This is the flaw. If you can't get your brothers and your sisters to do it too, to the effect of a tune of a critical mass having it done, well, Mark, you know it in the aggregate here, but here comes your psychological, delusional, deranged fantasy. You know that's correct about the aggregate humanity of what you call planet Earth. That unless a critical mass does it, it ain't going to be there. It ain't there. But what you do is you invent something, some additional realms that your consciousness, for being a good boy, number 2, is going to. Oh, these dumb motherfuckers. I tried to warn them. I tried to educate them. I tried to edify them. They're just too stupid. But me, the good boy who did the good thing, begrudgingly taught because it's the duty to consciousness to do it. When I leave here, I'm going someplace that my consciousness merits and deserves. Guess what? No, you're not. Nobody is, if everybody doesn't. There are no private destinies, not in the long term and not in the short term. Everybody's ass keep coming straight back into this miasm. There ain't no elsewhere to be, buddy. Ain't no outer space, ain't no planet Earth, ain't anything, just this realm. Consciousness keeps incarnating, souls keep coming back through the character into the body again and again, repeating the pattern completely. That's why you know me and I know you and I know him and she knows her, because we keep doing this shit pile of stupidity and selfish narcissistic solipsism again and again and again and again, acting as if it was brand spanking new. And there was some special place for Mark's special good boy consciousness, because good boy did the duty he was meant to do. Well, okay, you mostly did. You got kind of closer to pretty much everybody, but still a big fucking problem. Ain't nowhere for you to go. couch it back into a little example exuded by the so-called Buddha himself. Siddhartha Gautama is noted as having said, when the disciples asked him, where you going when you die? When you drop the body, he said, I'm going to hell, obviously. They said, teacher, number one, you don't believe in a linear hell, and so to speak, as though, and number two, why would you go there even if you did? You of all beings. He said, well, it's a very, very easy answer. It's very simple. I've heard about it, and it sounds like they need the most help there. And in such a statement, the Buddha is saying the Buddha is not a Buddha. The idea that a being, by being the best being, can consciously go to a different realm without every being that needs to be being the being they need to be being to a critical mass number isn't happening. You can go and you can find out why you're still alive, and you can hit the as if ceiling of this thing, and you find out you need everybody else, and you come back and you get your ass to work, because nobody leaves unless everybody leaves. Nobody's getting out unless everybody's getting out, but everybody's getting out when there's a critical mass in the aggregate, having this level of realization and awareness that Mark is leaving out, missing out, omitting, sins of omission in his emission. Nothing in past emissions. It has a foul smell. It's coming up on the checker machine. Fail. Because unless a critical mass reaches this level of realization and does this work, specifically the acknowledgement and appreciation level, nobody's getting out. There's nowhere out to get to, only in sync and in tune and in alignment. Every organ in this organism and this body having a singular destiny, our departure to arrival at everlasting bliss and euphoria of a healthy body flowing and functioning together, or the experience, the conscious mental experience of everlasting and infinite shattering. This infinite is only how much shattering the body can do. And the ongoing mental, psychological, or experiential awareness and perception of shattering, 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 getting aware of your fragmented piece of shatter, and then that suddenly shattering. That is terrifying and undesired and preventable, because we are all still alive. Number 3, a critical mass must do this. And if you have done it, but you cannot get your brother and sister to do it too, you're still screwed. Next to nobody wants to know this, because that means you must use force to overpower their violence. Even to say those words reduces down to millions of different versions of interpretive frames of reference here in our terrestrial material matrix of danger to others from their satanic worldview. There is no danger if you are in alignment. And properly said, there's no danger if you're out of alignment. It's not actually dangerous. You're just stupid. And it would be stupid not to deal with you. And that's as much as I'm going to put that today. Because what that actually is, in its dimensions and boundaries and degrees, is not totally for me or for any me to decide. It's for a correct council of governance, a cooperative body of aligned individuals who are ever getting more aligned by aligning with the participation process of the group. And the council of many is wisdom. coming to collective determination about what to do about stick in the mud individuals who won't get on board with the correct aspect of communism. There is a correct aspect of communism. Your anarchy, Mark, is ultimately just flippance toward heaven. You're just an entitled little boy at the end of the day, still at max out level of your consciousness. Because there is a body, there is an organism, there is a group that can tell me what to do, to tell Jason what to do, and tell you what to do from within the group that is working honorably as brothers to the corrected alignment of being together. Together, all things for each are decided. Together. Not by yourself, just not sticking a pin in somebody. That's dumb, son. You're a fucking idiot. And the reason you abide in that moronity is psychologically and selfishly because you intend to. You don't discover this because you want to be about yourself. You want to figure out the threshold of what is acceptable and unacceptable behavior. That's why you're a fucking moralist. That's code for limited hedonism. The hedonism that I can accept within the boundaries of my moralism. You are not a consummate soul fully ensconced in the, because you're looking for the where the ego is acceptable. It's not. You're not acceptable yet. You have not become divinely realized yet. You're still an entitled brat because you're looking for where your quota is met. Then there's me time. There ain't mini me Satan time. There ain't big God me Satan. There ain't time. I know that's gotta be really particularly difficult for you, Mr. Time, Tim boy, Timmy boy. For your temples to let that in. But there ain't time. It just isn't. Only in your dust throwing Maya illusion, veil on veil bullshit. Your ringing, ragged, rulership, archontic, satanic, chronosonic, Yahwehistic bullshit that you rail against but are the master at. Master Passio was so stupid. You are the illusion of time. Yud, hey, vav, hey, yeh, hove, haya. The was, is, will be's, buzz, Moses, machination, mania, mark. That spot. Stop it. Get some help. Loser. There just isn't time outside of this illusion. See through to the body. As above, so below, so above, without, within, without, and above and beyond, I imagine, drawn outside these lines of your limited reason. See, I've done this math enough to know the dangers of how you're guessing at it, and you're wrong. You're a tool. He's acting like a fool in order to get yourself to where good up to here, and now I can play. You're a real serious motherfucker, you know, like it's got to be by the book, like a policeman, like a judge. But then, when I did all of it to the letter, this is my playground over here. I'm still a child who likes to have my toys. After I did everything I was tasked by mommy and daddy did, I did it, and I get to play now. Yeah, well, adults don't get to play ever, little boy. So stop looking for the edge of it. Remove the edge and become embodied in the actual moksha of realization. Your intellectual enlightenment, your cerebral dissociative pattern of tricking while tracking that you're not, because you're still asking if you are. Tempted to get everybody's, oh, that's that emotionality thing Jason was going on about before I so rudely interrupted him with my heavenly rant. You like to continue? Just speak words.
Yeah, we can. I honestly feel like we're at like a really good like place right now, like to begin
You
this.
mean hell?
Oh no, I
No,
was
I got confused
no,
because I'm
no,
pretty
I did
sure we're
not.
not in the good place.
No, I feel like we're at like um
Yeah. Are
a
we
positive
resolve?
ending place
Hmm.
for our
But
initiation
you said
of
so
this
little. I just
motion.
wanted to give you the opportunity to say a little more.
Well, I mean, I could make more comment on all the things that you
Because I could be
said,
my
but like I
little
say, I
mini
mean,
Jim Gaffigan for a minute, and be the audience. Other guy said so little. The one guy talked so much.
oh yeah, but I
What's
mean,
wrong with him? He's just some egomaniac.
no, I made that very clear from the beginning of why I didn't even make a longer Mark Passio correction video on my Facebook is because this was your prerogative to initiate this, plan to participate, and I feel like what you're saying is well spoken, and so I'm not interrupting you, and I'm in alignment with what you're saying. So I feel like this was a very positive initiation of motion here.
But can I
Uh,
get some more of your feedback into the matter?
okay, no, on which subject matter? Like
Well,
on the
you hear these words. I'm asking you to feedback how you're hearing them in your words, so that people who are where you are hear it your frequency way.
well, I feel like that's a
Clearly, I
little.
mean, do you disagree? Not everybody can handle my frequency.
No, I agree. I mean, well, but that's a matter of prerogative too.
And I'm a
Like,
pierogi full of potatoes.
sure. So
So we're prerogativing. Anyway, let's hear
I'm
your
just saying, I mean, can everyone handle your frequency? I think the answer is yes.
if they
Um,
choose to.
it's yes.
But we're attempting to assist removing some of those scales of obstruction.
Sure.
So
Well, I feel like all of your words about our origin point are incredibly meaningful on a level that's even, I mean, this is beyond Mark Passio, obviously. This is our existence and how these terms of agreement which bind us to this reality came to be and what shall be if we decide that we are not going to participate in the assignment that was given, which you described as love and, validation, acknowledgement, um, authentication of what's being said. I mean, yes. And so, I mean, I mean, I feel like a lot of this was really said very well.
you bring up a good point there, which is hierarchy is necessary inside our current condition.
Oh, you mean
One
to,
more retort to the fundamental notion of voluntarism and anarchy, as explained by Mark, is hierarchy is crucial to getting out. And that's stepping
to
into,
acknowledge the to acknowledge the established hierarchy.
well, just the appointing of leadership in general. and ranking,
Sure.
that there is density
Yeah.
of ranking in here as a byproduct of the part of our sequence of how this thing came to be that we did not get to today. But in that sequencing, because there was a halting of the brakes from the point that souls began to be coming forth from that first wrinkle, that stopping point, which is 50%, 50%, we have an issue. And we are skirting often the need to step into full leadership and full authority, that there is authorization over beings if you are a superior being, meaning a being that came forth first. That's not a position of the ego lording it over or any version of that phrasing. What it is a burden of responsibility to get more of this shit under management as a good steward. And if there are, so that's another big Mark Passio flaw, is the belief in blank slate equalism, tabula rasa,
Pablo Raza, yeah.
which
Whatever.
comes full frontal to where we're not at a good point. And me asking you brings it out. Like, these are things that need to be brought in here.
Sure.
Mark's idea of equality between men and women is blasphemy. It's also just biological foolishness. And ultimately, it's evil.
Yeah, I agree with that
Women
completely.
are not designed that way. And it's a skirting of the masculine because it's afraid of being the power it's meant to be here, because society no longer accepts it. And it would be all sorts of layers of taking on.
Yeah, but to be in defiance of the qualifications of society is to embody the divine masculine within itself. I made a video about this recently, about how alone. It's like you and I both know what that is, see. We both know what it is in our life to have no one supporting us, to have no one morally backing us, but to still stand in our correctness because we know that we're correct, because nobody has the ability to correct us.
Any layer of supplication toward women, for women, by men, are weak men.
Sure.
And ultimately lead to harm coming forth in the world. So the idea of just blank slates, yes, a soul is produced as a total balance between male and female. But we have things that we did not describe that happened in the sequence of how we're here in this material world with these visceral bodies. And the soul landing in a female body for the duration, taking the female form, is a decision to be part of this battle in that vehicle, the female vehicle. And everything about it in this video game hologram of taking that avatar has parameters and protocols. And so does the male. And not standing on those axiomatically and absolutely is a failure. And it's a big soft spot in Mark's belly. It's a big soft spot, and it confuses many things. Is that placation to women or supplication? Any kind of down to that, of not seeing the man as the man and the woman as the woman, and the women cannot do this work except as a moon of the man. Women cannot do this work. Women cannot do the great work except attached to a male. Not bringing that out. I don't believe you believe that. I don't really believe, Mark, that you're just not saying that to mask for society. You don't believe that. That's the problem in your consciousness. You don't believe that. And you're just wrong. Women are not designed to do the great work. They're designed to be the moon behind the male. They can only come along. Only a soul in a male body can do this aspect of the work in the fashion that this work needs to be done, period, the end. And the soul, which is a complete balance between the male and female aspects, that chose to incarnate through the female bodies in here, decided to accept that reality, of the position as female, which in here is the supportive role, not a leadership role. So you can't fully stand in the power of what your leadership is until you declare that. This is not designed like that. It is a failure to acknowledge biology in the natural world. This is a fail. blinding fail, and failing. Humanity, talking about anybody else, also again, for the pure effect of it, tabula rasa in general. You're denying every Gilgal. You're denying that we're on this cycle wheel. You're denying that we've done this. That's one of your biggest blasphemies we almost missed out in calling out. By talking about people as programmable, IBM, garbage in, garbage out, good in, good out, tabula rasa, as if you're denying consciousness and all the cycles that people have done things that have imprinted upon them, and it's not equal. And back to hierarchy, there is a hierarchy, a choreographed hierarchy in here. The ultimate track of reality is to get to total equality. But a thing happened where we got blocked from moving past 50% complete. That's where the task is on the CP saying 50% complete, 50% not complete. Right? We bound the two together to get the 50% that was doing the big violence versus force. We forced in there to get the second half to counteract its violence and make it do thing. And we're in that miasm of psyche experiencing this duality. We got to talk about this, Mark. Because otherwise, you're not making sense about body prevailing upon body, which is injury and harm, which is force counteracting violence. You're missing out entirely. And why this tabula rasa shit is just fucking blazingly blinded nonsense is the height of your stupidity, because you're denying the conscious fact that we have already done this and been imprinted upon. We have a scorecard, we have a record, and there is hierarchy, and those higher up the hierarchy that did more hurtful in the past, they have a harder thing. They're more culpable. And those who've stood in the track of innocence get this better or closer to innocence. Avoiding psychic violence, the most criminal violence in the mind, harboring error and deviance. That's palpable. That's a real particulate thing of constitution of electromagnetism. This needs to be talked about, not just spoken down to that low-hanging fruit down there. It was like, don't hit Jimmy. Hitting Jimmy's bad. Bad hitting Jimmy. No, we need to talk about the mind. We need to talk about psychic violence. We need to talk about the fact that because we were halted at 50%, we need hierarchy, the Rubik's Cube, if you will, all the things put in the places they need to get out, to get on with it, to essentially having been made, been correct, fallen over to this 50%, our parallel mark, in order to advance it manually to counteract its violence of stubbornly, lazily, in fear, staying there. Which is to speak out back to where it was dropped before, when we were in that pre-phase, going back to where I dropped a tab way back. I knew I did. I knew I'd find it. Is to talk about the first thought. The first thought we had was that I mentioned, but not enough, that we were concerned if that cardboard laminate became cutout puzzle pieces like we did, became parts in the body, there's no precedent for there being parts. What if every part does not choose to love? And then we went off on explaining love and distraction. But if every part chooses to build Disneyland, and went solidly back into loudly saying that volunteerism aspect of once you got your work done, that's not enough. But coming back to it, what did we do there? We had the first thought. And our first thought was the fear that every part wasn't going to do what every part should do because it could not do what it was meant to do. Because every part could not do what it was meant to do, we had a fear, what if it doesn't? The only reason we're going to doesn't is because we had that thought, but we could not have the thoughts. I call this Murphy's Flaw. It's one of my few coined terms that are mine, Murphy's Flaw. Because it was sort of an inevitability to have the thought of, wait, but no precedent, pieces with agency, with will, with ability to do thing that wouldn't, I was just singularly me before, and now pieces, each piece could, then any piece could choose not to love every piece. A part of me could not love me. Why would I? That's God. That's God. That's that brings about God. What brings about that bringing about, that's the advanced question we left on the bench. But that is the need for God. It's a psychological need. It's a psychotic need. It's the first thought. God is a thought form. God meaning the master, meaning obviously ourself parted ourself from original self into siblings, puzzle pieces, souls, parts, original whole, parts. But then we went, oh no, okay, one more good on you, one more great phrase, Mark. Cosmic parental abandonment. A+ for human control once again. Yes, no parent. Correct. That's not the aliens. There's no universe. There's no God. There's no super. But there is a God. God does exist. But God is not what people assume God is in the conventional wisdom systems and religions. And it's not acceptable, Mark, to use God as a synonym. You say, it's acceptable, God, consciousness, whatever word. No, it's not acceptable. That's not what God means. God never means the higher power. God never means the total conscious ever. God means master. That's God, Guth, Goth, Lord, Master. The word itself, the being itself is real, does exist, but it's a thought form. Every time our psychological drivers, as this original state, having this pre-mind about this, and our individual parts that came up after, taking this psychological driver on. What if every part of me isn't going to love every part of me? Better be a policeman. Better invent a parent, better invent a chaperone, better invent a supreme being. It's the ultimate deus ex machina, literally deus ex machina. D-ed, done that. The first thought, and we keep refueling by the thinking, the thought. What if we siblings, we're just little people, we can't do this? You can't love everybody. Yes, you can, and you must. The power in me, the power in she, the power in thee, all the powers are, in quotes, what we call colloquially physics equation. Power plus power plus power equals the higher power. The sum of the information in our parts still equals the higher power. It's an accessible cloud, a quantum condition. We call it Father's will, for reasons that are probably too long to get into today. But the important point there being is God came to exist out of fear and laziness. Laziness being the unwillingness to adapt to the already agreed upon change coming on. So a whole half of our being did not allow the oncoming change to continue. And because of that halting, and it's innate, it's intrinsic, and we can discuss it not today, we ended up with that hierarchy of who was developing up to the 50% that we stopped developing, from the wrinkle to the next, these guys, all that, where's development, those guys ran over to here, that whole thing, and the rings, everything that was developing stopped. And since then, flip over, fold in. We have to actualize that hierarchy with total and unwavering absolute leadership mentality and prevail upon those by force who aren't, because they're in violence. Just like that thought was a pre-parted violence that trickled down from the advanced understanding of how we got ourselves out of a stationary singularity. And maybe we shouldn't have. Maybe we shouldn't have done that, and maybe we shouldn't have thunk that. But we did these things because this is back engineered clearly here and now. And without coming into this upper level awareness, we're all going to harm our whole self, period, full stop. This must be known. We need to stop allowing Mark to have the conversation his way, because it's wrong and it's harmful, and that's violence. Thank you, Jason, for getting that out of me, because those are thumbtacks that needed to be here on this first issue.
I agree. Definitely the tabula rasa thing, and I agree with you that is the pinnacle of his stupidity. And it's really a moot argument. I mean, for anyone who can comprehend data retention and storage the way that someone who has a radical understanding of computers the way that Mark does, like,
he has so many data points to not say this.
It's a moot argument entirely to say that anyone is a tabula rasa at this point, that any soul has yet to experience a part of reality.
Basically, to put it most correctly, so there's an attempt to, retort that, or have a retort to that, to refute that. is saying that the brain is a tabula rasa. You could
I
almost
mean, I get
make an argument for that and be correct in pure technical fact. But the problem is what immediately uploads into the brain, the character, the soul. So
sure.
it's still fundamentally bullshit because what do you say? The brain is an independent operator? Fuck out of here with that shit.
Yeah,
So you
that's
say that the brain that is made in this refreshed body that's reinstated into the park of action in here in the material plane is a yeah, but who cares? The brain isn't going to move itself around. No brain just moves itself around. The non-souled humans, the Hylics, the CGI, the animals, the trees, they don't move themselves around. That 50% miasm and all sorts of other evil fuckers and wrongly operated in, with powers and archons and principality, they're moving them. Some electrical magnetic resonance frequency power is moving the brain around. So it's, you use the operative and apt word here. It's moot. So yeah, you could make a technical argument that the brain refreshed and restored into the park is a tabula rasa. For like a second, what's going to thwart the character and the soul inside the character that's incarnating back into the monkey suit from immediately patterning its patterning. Now, the thing is, Mark isn't fundamentally wrong, actually, in a kind of asshat sort of clown ass way. Because yeah, that brain, in most manners of speaking, I could even dispute myself here, but in most manners of speaking, that brain would be a piece of equipment that is at least a rebuild, if not a restore, refresh, refurbish, replasmated, re-entered thing. Yeah, but immediately when the soul inside the character enter the meat suit, it's immediately imprinted upon. So what's the moment that it becomes not a tabula rasa? Like conception. So like, yeah, this is part of the illusion of time. You could only say this if you believe in the illusion of time. It's just stupid. And you hit the nail on the head. It's just fucking boot. But excuse me, back to you.
sure. No, yeah. So yeah, and in agreement again about, and I'm glad that that came out too about Mark's incorrect conception of women, his incorrect perspective on.
Well, I want to say it even more clearly. It's violence toward women to believe that because you're harming them by believing that they can do this job.
Agreed.
It's
It's like
misogyny.
modern day
Just,
feminism is
it's
misogyny.
just fucking misogyny.
Yeah.
If you attempt to push a woman and say that a woman can do a man's job, you hate her. It is evil. It is a misogynistic. It is actually misogyny to attempt to push a woman out to do a man's job. She's not designed to do it. That's misogyny. You love women, you love the feminine aspect of them, that don't attempt to put them in equality with the man's role because that damages, degrades, and destroys woman, the womb being. Like you ruin it by setting it equal to a man and saying it's here to do the same thing. That's pure misogyny. You must hate them if you want to tear them apart by telling them they should be doing what the man should be doing and we're all equal. Come out of your misogyny, Mark. That's misogyny. You hate women. Like, it doesn't mean Mark Passer walks around, I hate women. No, Mark, you know what it means. It means you're a de facto misogynist. You're a de facto misogynist. De facto misogyny is believing that women are designed to do what men are designed to do. That's de facto misogyny. You hate them because you're pushing them to do what the man can only do. Let's not get bogged down about souls. Souls are the totality dynamic of male and female. But if you're attempting to allege that women should be doing this stuff, you're a misogynist. You're a de facto misogynist. Yeah, that's a fact. You're a de facto misogynist. So if you don't mean to be, correct that shit. You're just wrong. Now I feel fairly like the tiniest little bit still kicking around, but like I feel pretty evened out here.
Okay.
Talk a little more, piss me off a little more.
Uh, okay. I'm nearing the end of my available time. I
Me
need to
too.
make
I actually am about 5 minutes before it. But agitate the lettuce a little more, like agitate the lettuce just a little more.
Okay. Well, okay, so we've gone over the main things that we have discussed about Mark and the initiation of his videos with the Earth pictured as something that it is most definitely not, or the hologram that is being presented to us as this reality, which we may call Earth, being presented to us as something that is most definitely not. Um, we discussed that government is not slavery. That is incorrect. The
Government is not slavery.
yeah, that's what he should be saying. Yeah. But I mean,
have a childish and bratty authority problem.
yeah. So by disposing of the idea and the concept of government and as slavery,
You're not the boss of me.
Mark reveals his inner character, which is pretty much what you just did, like the flawed of his
child. You can't.
You can't tell me what to do. Yeah. And his whole thing too about authoritative perspectives, his authority problem. I mean, that's massive. Those are massive flaws.
Massive trauma.
Yeah.
Masking clarity of consciousness. We're all under authority of ourself together. And what everybody's collective decision is, those who are doing it in good faith alignment, is it's not for you to decide for yourself. You are not your own. You do not own yourself. That is a flawed position, Mr. Passio. I do not own myself. We do not own ourselves outside of not initiating harm and injury upon people and property. That is lousy, limp fruit. It's much more than that. Our decisions are to be made upon ourselves together. There is no wiggle space where you are out and at your leisure. Sir, you are not dismissed. Stand at attention. Until our next segment, you'll be watching us and we'll be watching you. We are Dethroning Satan.
I see you see me, Mark.
I got my eye on you!
I got my eye on you, Mark. And yeah, Dethroning Satan is an excellent title. I think especially like perhaps even like exclusively for our Mark Passio dissection. I mean, even though
just for the record, our big eye is watching you, puppy. We're coming for you, Jason James Bickford. We're coming hard for you. Just hold on, PP.
little PP, Peterson. I have to say it again, and I want this to be said on this video that I admire Mark Passio as a singular individual more than the entire collective of individuals that poses himself as Jason James Bickford. Just saying.
That being said, I agree. How could I not admire you, Mark? I made you. Jesus Christ, deny your maker, but he who tries will be wasted. What a waste it would be to be wasted. Gotta say that wacky tobacco.
Oh, is Mark a pothead like that?
Not now. Now he's the ethnogens,
That's what I thought.
entheogens. Used responsibly as medicine in a tribal way to get yourself to a higher state. It's acceptable at certain. And it's okay as long as I permit myself based on the count. Mark, we could help you stop doing that inside. Just surrender. You fucking moralist. If you actually surrendered, you wouldn't be doing that anymore. And so when it's added up and the ledger at the accounting sheet says, this is everything I did was done, it's good, and now I've got to go because I'm going to do that thing that I want to do. Now it's me time. Now you stupid people, don't do it. Or you could surrender. Spoiled brats, especially you first offspring. Spoiled little brats. But what about me? Now it's getting really esoteric. He's out there. He's a savior. Ain't nobody going to save your ass, so you better do it. Mukti.
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 Mukti. See you.
Yes. See you.